So here it is, the Canyon CFR. Just a surprising, amazing release. And it is completely redesigned Spectral on. Completely new geometry. EP8 motor is the same, but the battery is where they just kind of just blew our minds. So it's going to come with a 700 watt hour battery or a 900 watt hour battery. So this one comes with a 900. The bike itself is about 40 pounds and the 40 and a half, and the battery is 10 and a half pounds for a total of 51 pounds. So 51 pounds is not bad for a bike that has a 900 watt hour battery. That is just 200 more than the fabled Specialized Levo, which dominates the category because of how big its battery is. And it's got the same cues as the Levo in terms of battery. It has a smart battery that goes through here and exits out through the bottom bracket. And like the Levo, they angled the motor, the EP8 motor, so they could insert the battery in there. So it looks like a massive structure here, that might bother you, it might not, but it's kind of a clean design that allows you the maximum real estate for the battery. So it is a compelling bike, not only because of the battery, because it is a modern bike, amazing value, 6,000 to 10,500. This one is 10,500 for full carbon, and they've really made so many improvements over the previous one, which is one of my favorites. So what they improved on is a full carbon frame now. So it's a much lighter frame. They reduced, I believe, 300 grams out of it, 3/4 of a pound. They modernized the geometry. They steepened the seat angle about 75 to about 76 and a half, a degree and a half. The head angle remarkably stays about the same, about 65 and a half, but the reach is radically different now. It's about 25 millimeters, 2.5 centimeters longer than the old one, size per size. The chainstay, they grew a little bit, because it's a longer here now. They wanted more balance to it. It's still a mullet, and it's really one of their wins. So really a much better geometry. It's a 155, 150. I'm not sure why it's not 160. So the user can definitely do a 160, slacken it up a little bit, maybe a little longer, if they want to. But they really, they up the game, not just in terms of the battery, but in terms of the overall rideability of the bike. A couple other things I'll mention is the component spec. The component spec is world class. It has Shimano. This one has XTR, but they have SLX as well. They also have SRAM components now, but Shimano, I believe, is really fit for e-bikes because of two reasons. One is the shifting is a little more deliberate, a little more patient. There's always power on an e-bike as long as you have the motor on and your feet are on the pedals. Even when you think you're unloaded, you're not. So a drivetrain that can handle a power shift is very good, and the Shimanos can, much better than the SRAMs, I think. The other thing is the braking is superior. These are XTR 4-piston, amazing brakes. SLX 4-piston, really, really good brakes as well. So some of the best out there, and they modulate well. Just a firm feel that some may not be used to. Reynolds carbon wheels, Assegai tires. They finally unseated the DHF, but it's still a Maxxis. Assegai DHR on the rear. And what do you have? Shimano. So Shimano all around, really amazing. And Fox. Fox, so good. You really need good suspension to elevate or kind of control the weight of an e-bike. So 51 pounds for this one on tubeless. But really, there was a bunch of quirks on the old bike that were kind of bothersome. The saddle, the binder bolt, the handlebars. So I'll talk about that. So now they have a traditional binder bolt right here, which is much better at clamping. You don't need friction paste and whatnot. The old one, you had to pinch it through the frame with a special mechanism. They now have traditional saddle, a physique. Looks like it's e-bike optimized with a little bit of a raise here, but really leave the saddle creation to the saddle manufacturers who do this day in and day out. It's an add-on, really sculpted piece here with a lot of foam. Really impressed with this one. You need a good saddle for an e-bike because you do a lot of sitting down. And right here, this elevation is because on the steepest parts, and you're gonna climb a lot of steep parts, you can just kind of rest your bum on that and get the power on. Another cool thing that they did is they got rid of the one-piece bar and stem combo that they had. Really trick piece, but it had a weird, mountain bikers, they like to customize, and if it's a one piece, then you're screwed. So this one, a traditional bar and stem, very short stem, and a nice sweep on the bar. But if you do want to change it, you can do it piece by piece, no problem at all. Oh, they dropped this. I didn't think this was this low, but they said they dropped it by about 20 millimeters. So now you can have a longer dropper post. So there you go, pretty low, huh? And the cockpit is super cool because it has, Shimano shifter and a Shimano dropper lever, and the user interface is exactly the same. So I don't know, I'm gonna go for a ride, take you guys along, but really this thing is just mind-blowing. For 10,500 with a 900 watt-hour battery, 51 pounds, they really upped the game here. And I have some of the best bikes, the new Levo, the new Score, the new Heckler, and we'll see how this fares against those other fine bikes. All right, thanks a ton, guys. What's up, everyone? This is the Canyon CFR, the 2022, and today I'm gonna show you the battery and the motor. The thing that makes this bike unique is this battery, the 900 watt-hour monster that we have. This is a 27.5 wheel, and you can kind of see the scale of it. It's a 10.5 pound battery, which gives this bike the lead in the range department. We're gonna go for a test ride, and we're gonna see how this battery affects the ride of this bike. Does it ruin it, or is it okay? But let's put this battery in here. So the miracle of engineering is two things. One is how long they were able to make this cavity, and second, how narrow it is from here. And the trick is it's narrow, but it is wide. So the viewer, the rider can see how big his battery is because you can see the width of it. But people otherwise say, hey, that's a normal looking down tube kind of height. So there it is. Probably that will just, and then this is your, the charger goes here, but the charger is also the same type of port as the main power port of the bike. So I will plug it in, and one thing strange is the power port also holds the cover. So the alignment, I have some alignment issues on mine, and it's magnetized, and it's there. All right, we are gonna go for a test ride, and the beauty of a battery this big, we can ride from home. The biggest question in our minds is, will the weight of this bike, 51 pounds, affect the agility of the bike? And we go to our proven testing grounds. Not a very technical trail, but single track, a lot of tight turns, switchbacks. A really good test for this bike. 155 rear travel, 150 front. And something interesting is that they put a 150 front fork, and the head angle is not that slack. It's not 64, it's 65.5. And I think they did that to make this bike nimble, knowing that it's gonna bring some weight, especially on the lower end spec. Give it a trail feel, to give it some agility, complement those smollett wheels so one can change direction pretty easily without having a wheelbase that's so long. Slack head angles are cool, but they do really lengthen the wheelbase of a bike. It's a pretty cool. What we've observed is the fit of this bike is much better than the old one. It is very roomy, so one has to get used to that, move the body around. But you can really get on this bike and change direction, move it around, switch back. Nice small wheel on the rear allows you to maneuver it pretty easily. And really, we like the 29er front wheel in conditions like this. It just gives you confidence that it's gonna eat anything up, even on a brand new trail unfamiliar to you. Our headset was a hair loose on this first ride, so a little bit of sound there. And there's a little bit of sound from the motor, the EP8 motor knock. It's definitely not as loud as a year ago on the Canyon bikes or the Santa Cruz bikes that we tried. We feel like Shimano has been working to mute that knock. Not very noticeable here. You know, you hear a lot of the other trail noises. So there you go, our initial impressions. A very well sorted bike, huge battery, but it is pretty nimble still. Surprisingly, I think they did that with a mullet and not having too slack of an angle long wheelbase. It rides super well. We did about 4,000 feet and only used half the battery, so definitely big rides are possible with this bike. So stay tuned. We're gonna ride this more compared to our other bikes, high-end new bikes on the stable. Thanks a ton.